It's 20 degrees. The church forbids you from touching your wife. It's Sunday. It's Advent. It's cold. They preach that pleasure is a sin. So why is the local bishop getting rich? Because he's running the biggest brothel operation in the city. He's taxing prostitutes for sinning and using the money to build cathedrals. You think you know hypocrisy? Today, we expose the business of sin, where the church banned sex in the home but licensed it down the street. Imagine standing in a stone town square. The winter wind is screaming, and a fine snow is dusting everything in sight. In the center of the square, the accused is not a thief, but a sow. She is on trial, with lawyers and judges, for the crime of unnatural relations with her owner. Both will be burned alive. Across town, in a damp cell, a shivering woman is dragged to a platform, not for murder, but for stealing men's penises. The witnesses, shivering just as hard, swear that she kept them in a nest, fed them oats, and that they would dance on her command. And a few streets over, in the biting cold, the prostitutes, the only ones with any artificial warmth to sell, are forced to follow the law, wearing mandatory yellow hoods with bells. The sound tinny and sharp in the frozen air. They aren't hiding, they are holding golden chains, huddling at the city gates, waiting to capture the emperor. This is the official city welcoming ceremony. You think this is insane? The court ledgers, medical texts, and legal codes of the Middle Ages say, it was real. And this is just the frigid opening act. What happened when we go inside is even harder to believe. We are often told of a medieval world of pious, shivering peasants and chaste, holy knights, their breath fogging the air as they prayed. But push that painting aside. Behind the silence of the snow was a world screaming with repressed sexuality, a world obsessed with a sexual calendar so detailed it banned intimacy by the day and hour, a time clock for sin. A world with confessional books that assigned penance by the year, based on whether you entered from the front or the back, whether you were on top or on the bottom. This was a civilization where medicine, which knew nothing of germs, confidently prescribed manual orgasms to treat the wandering womb, which they believed caused women's hysteria during the long winter nights. A world with court cases that forced a husband and wife, in a cold room, to perform in front of aging witnesses, just to prove an impotence claim. And on the cold church walls, there were even murals depicting penis trees, heavy with fruit, an image that was both a warning from God and a sick joke from a bored monk. Terrifying? Hold your breath. We're just starting to warm up. The control mechanism wasn't just armored guards, it was the church, and it wielded the most powerful weapon: guilt. Holy matrimony bound you, but it also shackled you to an ironclad calendar of prohibitions. Sunday? Holy. Forbidden. Friday, the day Christ suffered. Forbidden. Thursday, the Last Supper. Forbidden. Lent? 40 days of total freeze. Advent? 4 cold weeks waiting for Christ's birth. Feast days, holy days, saints' days. Forbidden, forbidden, forbidden. Is your wife menstruating? Forbidden. Her body is unclean. Her blood considered toxic. Just gave birth? Forbidden for 40 days. She needs purification. Breastfeeding? Many priests forbade that too, screaming from the pulpit that the husband's semen would travel through the milk, corrupting it, harming the child, turning the baby into a tiny, lustful demon. Add it all up. A pious couple, shivering in their stone chamber, might be permitted to seek each other's warmth, less than once a week. You're thinking, that's impossible. Who could stand it? Exactly. That's the million-dollar question. And when the legal, holy door slams shut, cold as an iron bolt, the side doors, the back alleys, and the warm, dark paths of sin open themselves. And we're going to see exactly how they snuck through. Even if you found a loophole in that frozen calendar, the act itself was padlocked. This wasn't about connection or passion, this was about function. Only one position was legal: missionary. It was deemed the only one for the correct purpose: procreation. Everything else? Sodomy. Woman on top? That's an inversion of God's natural order. Eve, tempting Adam all over again. 40 days of penance on bread and water, as you wonder why wanting to be in control is a crime. In the manner of dogs, from behind, 3 years of fasting. Theologians wrote it was the position of beasts, and it debased the image of God within you. Any method withdrawal or oral that impeded conception, 7 years. And if you ejaculated into the mouth, the oldest penitentials classified this as the worst of all evils, worse than murder, worse than heresy. And if, just if, you happened to enjoy it, sin. You moaned in pleasure instead of in duty, sin. You took too long, lingering in that human warmth, sin. The ideal, holy sexual encounter, according to the manuals, must be brief, silent, dry, and cold as the winter air, performed as a duty, without pleasure. You're frowning. How did they live? They lived with 2 faces, with piety in the town square and a desperate flexibility in the bedchamber. And here is that flexibility. While priests preached purity from their frigid pulpits, many dioceses were quietly collecting a fee called the collegium. Essentially, this was a mistress tax. It was an unspoken arrangement. Your priest couldn't marry, but he was a man, and the winters were long and lonely. He wanted a housekeeper? A cousin to keep him warm? Fine. Just pay the annual fee to the bishop. In exchange, you could carry on your illicit relationship with minimal interference. We know this is true because we have the receipts. Church account books list the collegium right next to tithes and burial fees. Dogma was one thing, cash was another. The warmth of a woman's body had a price, and the bishop was the tax collector. You smell that thick stench of hypocrisy rising like steam in the cold air? Hold that feeling, because now we're going to the Abbey of Wotton, where hypocrisy turned into the most brutal nightmare. At the Abbey of Wotton, in the cold of 12th century England, a young nun forced into the convent as a child committed the ultimate sin. Lonely, desperate, and perhaps craving human warmth, she became pregnant by a lay brother. The community found out. They didn't pray. They didn't expel her. They didn't hand her over to the courts. They acted. They dragged the man into the abbey. They bound him. And, according to the Chronicle, they forced the pregnant girl to personally castrate her lover. Imagine the scene. The screams in the cold stone vault, the blood spattering on the frozen floor. And when it was done, a senior nun picked up the severed, still bloody organs and shoved them into the girl's mouth as a lesson in purification. But here is the most insane part of the story. The Chronicle claims that after this grotesque act of violence, her pregnancy miraculously vanished. This was taken as a sign of divine absolution. She was forgiven and welcomed back. In Wotton, savage violence was called repentance, and profound humiliation was framed as holiness. Chills down your spine? We haven't even gotten to the part where the court forces couples to prove it in front of them. Before we pull back that courtroom curtain, we need to look at the science that governed it. Medieval physicians, reading ancient Greek texts, believed in the two-seed theory. It was simple. They believed that both the man and the woman had to emit seed, semen and a supposed female equivalent, to conceive. What did this mean? Both had to orgasm. The legal consequence of this medical theory was a travesty of justice. If a woman became pregnant, it was proof she had felt pleasure. If she felt pleasure, it was proof she had consented. Legal texts like England's Fleta state it plainly. If she should conceive by the rape, the charge must be dropped. Stop and think about that. A woman like Lady Isabel Butler in Ireland is abducted, held captive in a cold tower, raped repeatedly. And then, her own body's trauma response results in a pregnancy, a second nightmare, and that pregnancy becomes the evidence used in court to strip her of her testimony, to call her a liar. Her attacker is set free. This is the ultimate example of how flawed science, when weaponized by a legal system, can crush a human life. And it didn't stop there. The wandering womb was another phantom haunting medieval medicine. Trapped in the long winter nights without human contact, women, especially widows and nuns, suffered from hysteria. The doctors didn't believe in psychology. They believed in physics. They believed the uterus, when it became dry and cold from lack of activity, would detach itself and wander around the body looking for warmth, causing fainting, seizures, and fits of weeping. The treatment? Warm it up. For married women? regular intercourse.